My name is Oonagh and I'm the owner and managing director of the Meaghers Pharmacy Group. We have 9 physical pharmacies, all based in Dublin, and a very busy online store called Meaghers.ie, where we look after customers the length and breadth of Ireland and actually ship to 58 different countries around the world now. And I've been using data analytics. I've really seen the benefit of it and been using and partnered with Real World Analytics since 2014. I think we were the 3rd customer. And really why we embraced data analytics and why we were looking for a solution was because we were using various different systems, whether it be our EPOS system or our PMR system, and we actually set up our online store in 2014, so that was another system we were using, and we had, I suppose, a minefield of data, but couldn't extract the relevant pieces out of it to make proper business decisions. So we were looking for a solution to do what we were doing actually very manually at the time, so that we could make decisions much faster and implement them much faster. And that's what attracted me to Real World Analytics. And we've been very fortunate actually, because we've been working in partnership with Real World since 2014 and have been part of, I suppose, the development of various different new suites of reports that really, I suppose, made a huge difference to our business. And we've learned from other retailers who actually use the Real World as well. And we have had the benefits of their various different reports too. I guess in retail and so many other businesses now, there is so much information. And data is just pieces of information from various different systems. For me, data analytics is taking all of that information, much of which is probably not relevant to what we're looking for, but actually finding the key pieces of information that makes a huge difference to our business in that multitude of data, and extracting the relevant pieces into a usable type of report that allows myself and our management team and right down to store teams to actually make quality decisions very efficiently and very effectively. So data analytics to me means almost like finding the needle in the haystack. It's about extracting relevant information into a format where you can use to better improve your business. Yeah, well, when I think back to what we used to do, we had 3 different people extracting 3, I suppose, reports, weekly reports every Monday morning. They would be extracting those from our 3 different systems: our PMR system, our EPOS system, and then our online system. And actually, in fairness, our procurement system as well, so 4 different systems. And then they would be pulling those together in Excel spreadsheets and amalgamating that information, and then getting that into some sort of a report to send out to our store teams or to send to our procurement team every single week. And by the time all of that actually happened, it could be Wednesday, might even be Thursday. By the time it would actually get to the relevant person to make a decision, half the week was gone. And what I found was, if there was one person in that chain of events who was off on holidays, on leave, whatever, it may not have happened for that week, and we lost a week's information. So, that was the time when I was kind of thinking there has to be a smarter way of doing this. It has to be an automated process. We've also had experience in the past where maybe we interpreted the data inaccurately, and we made a decision based on inaccurate information because, a decimal point wasn't put in properly or something like that. So there was a few things that happened within our business that I kind of thought, there has to be a system, a piece of technology that enables us to happen and could free up our people to actually affect the change, as opposed to going through the minefield of information. So, and we were looking for a system at that time, and I was speaking to a number of people involved in retail excellence at the time, and I came across Real World Analytics from those conversations, and as a result of which we started partnering with Real World Analytics from 2014. Yeah, well, I mean, I think if you don't have the transparency in the information, you can't make accurate decisions. And we're quite open in our business, very open actually, with all decision makers, all of our managers. And I firmly believe that if they have the information and understand the why we're asking them to purchase products from a certain supplier, why we're asking them to really put a focus on certain, retail departments, or why are we really focusing on return patient loyalty within the dispensary, patient conversion projects. Then once they understand the why, it's very easy to affect change. So, and real world analytics allows us through a multitude of reports that we would use to show that transparency and to show, before we might start an initiative, the results of how it is before, and then when we put strategies in place to actually affect change, how it is after 3 months, 6 months, a year. And that transparency of showing what it was like before we actually maybe implemented various different changes, to what it is like afterwards. That transparency really shows actually the things that we do really work. And on what we focus on, we can deliver. And I think that if everybody sees that, then they're bought into the reasons why and the purpose of what we're trying to achieve. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to really do is make quality decisions for our patients and our customers out the other end, whether it be improve their compliance in taking medicines, whether it be from a business end, improve efficiency in purchasing and procurement, or whether it be to allow our retail teams to focus on the departments that are really, really working, or to shine a light on departments that maybe need a little bit more attention in stores to actually improve as well. So what we're really trying to do at the very end is to use the system and to use the data within the system to actually make better patient outcomes at the end of it. And that's what Real World allows us to do, because the data, it helps us to extract that relevant data of the various different elements, the various different strategies that we're working on, and to shine a light on that, and to show our teams then all the hard work that they put in and the strategies that they work on. Actually, at the other end of it, it really works once we focus on that. So that transparency is brilliant from our business back end, from procurement, from retail, but actually where it really becomes alive and where we really get a lot of joy, I suppose, from our pharmacy teams, is when they can see actually patient compliance improves, or which all leads to better patient outcomes in terms of managing maybe critical illnesses or chronic illnesses, and that's what we're about in pharmacy, really making better decisions for our patients at the end of the day to improve their health and well-being. Well, I guess probably from a revenue point of view, it would be in our retail element of the business. Pharmacy is made up of obviously our dispensary business and our retail business, but we can see whenever we focus on certain key categories and certain key departments and put in place measures in our stores to improve those departments, we can see that improvement in our daily even reports, our daily, weekly, monthly reports. So whenever I first implemented the system, and actually whenever we were looking at this, we always used to focus on the departments where we're in the negative. What are we doing wrong here? How can we actually change that? Whereas now, today, we actually focus on what we're doing really well. So it's almost that 80-20 kind of rule. If we focus on the 80% of the business that actually is working incredibly well and put a little bit more attention to that, you can actually affect a much bigger change than trying to put a huge amount of attention into the 20%, which really, in the grand scheme of things, it's about working, I suppose, smarter rather than harder. So we have seen huge improvements by focusing on the things that are going really well, our strengths in the business, and always looking at, and in fact, there's a number of reports within the system, even the 80-20 rule, and that gets our teams actually even thinking about if we did that bit right, because it's impossible to do it all of the time, but if we focus on actually our strengths, that has been hugely important to us in terms of driving revenue. So when it comes to margin, I guess our biggest advantage of using the system is it gives us a real deep dive into the various different margins we get from various different suppliers. How do we make our margin from the element of procurement and also the element of fees, and really helps us to do a deep dive into the procurement. And of course, we can get drug molecules from a variety of different suppliers, but making a change in terms of where we can buy it better can actually make a huge improvement to our bottom line without making any difference really to the patient, because same drug, same molecule, but we're just buying it better. So by using, I suppose, real world analytics and that data and having that transparency, it's allowed us without doing any improvement in terms of driving revenue or additional business, to actually just get so much more profitability from our business, from just looking at our cost base and looking how we buy better. Well, we've been working with the team at Real World Analytics since the very beginning, since 2014. I think back then it might have been a team of 3 or 4 people, and my experience has been it is very unusual. It's not like another supplier. The team at Real World are much more like partners. They're like an extension of our business, and no matter what we have ever asked for, once we explain why we're looking for that, it's always been I suppose welcomed with a curiosity. And no matter what report we kind of get into and discover, other outcomes from that report, that leads to usually a question of, well, why is that, and a further exploration. So I've always found the team at Real World, in particular, John and Conal setting up, and now we deal with Simon, incredibly curious, incredibly open and incredibly agile. So there's never been anything that we've asked for really that hasn't been embraced or taken on board and delivered upon. So we really have a very open relationship. We explain what it is we're trying to do in our business and the reason why it's important to us, and we work very much like a partnership. But the other thing is that, we learn from other people, other retailers, because obviously they're, maybe have slightly different strategy to us, and other reports are added to the system. And we get that benefit as well, because, we might be trying to explain what it is we're trying to achieve, and somebody else has done it before, and a report could be added to the system that might be highlighted to us, the benefits of using that particular report. And so we're learning from others, even though, we might not necessarily know who is doing what or anything like that. So I suppose there's peer-to-peer learning even in that as well, and because people are doing different things, we're getting that added benefit. But we really enjoy working with the team in Real World Analytics. As I said, it's almost like an extension of our family in Meaghers. Well, in Meaghers, we have a very open culture, and we try to engage our teams as best we can in any changes that we're trying to implement in the business. I tend to try and approach it with explaining the why, and why we're having a change in a strategy, why we're asking them to do something different. And by doing that, we try to back that up with showing them the status quo before we would implement any of those changes, and then as a result at the other end, with the work that they have put in, that we have asked them to do, what has been the end result. And Real World has allowed us to do that. And what I find is, particularly with the information in the reports that we would send to stores, and even now the latest change in terms of their benchmarking that dashboard, it's very clear, it's very concise, and it's very actionable. So obviously that report comes out to them monthly, but various different other reports we would send to them weekly. And so it arrives into their inbox, they know what they've got to do, and it's very actionable. And the results of them putting in place those actions really makes a big difference to driving the improvements in our business. So I would say that Real World has enabled us to find a multitude of needles in a haystack. I would say that it cuts, I suppose, the wood from the trees, and we can actually find what's really important in our business by using the system. And I cannot imagine running the business without Real World anymore. It just would be impossible, to be honest. It has allowed us really to work much smarter in Meaghers rather than harder.